welcome to our special report, the program that brings you a ground zero view from whichever part of the country the RAJYA SABHA TV cameras are travelling. This week we are in the southern state of Tamil Nadu in the Cauvery Delta region. This vast expanse of land which you see behind me is actually the holy river of Cauvery. The river, which for the last 90 years has been plagued by politics, disputes, whipped up passions between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. But what have been the high and the low points of the Cauvery river water dispute, and can there be an amicable solution to this problem? Over the next 30 minutes, we shall try and find out answers to all these questions. The 800-kilometre long Cauvery has been a source of conflict between the southern states of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. At the core of this conflict are two agreements, one signed in 1892 and the other in 1924 between Madras Presidency and the princely state of Mysore. From then till now, much water has flown down the river, but the conflict remains unresolved. RAJYA SABHA TV travelled to the interiors of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka to understand the issues linked to the river, which is the lifeline of areas along its banks. All was well till 1960s when Karnataka wanted to build 4 reservoirs in the tributaries of Cauvery. Now the Planning Commission did not approve the funds and neither did the central government. But then Karnataka went ahead with the building of the reservoirs with its own funds. And this diverted some of the water of the Cauvery, which resulted in protests. And this was the beginning of a major conflict, which is now one of the most talked about river disputes. Cauvery water dispute presents a complicated scenario of river water management when the riparian states do not enjoy equal access to the source. Interstate problems are bound to rise. We've travelled across Tamil Nadu and now are in a place called Manargudi, which is the place where the country's first red flag was hoisted by the farm labourers. But for us, most significantly, this is the place, this is the main nerve centre where the legal battle for the Cauvery water dispute began. Professor S. Ranganathan is the man who started the fight for the Cauvery Delta farmers and filed the first writ petition that took the dispute between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu to the Supreme Court.
The existence of farmers is a fact. It has to be the responsibility of every government. But the government is ruled by political elements, and unfortunately Cauvery has been highly politicized.
What Ranganathan says is actually the reflection of the true situation on the ground that has been blown out of proportion by politicians from both states. There is no denying the fact that both Tamil Nadu and Karnataka depend heavily on Cauvery water for irrigation of fields. The dispute is all about sharing and utilization of the river water.
There are people in Karnataka who are very parochial. Since the Cauvery starts here, it should serve us first. But then they forget there is something called riparian rights. In any river water dispute, the tailenders are entitled to get, if not the equal amount, at least 3/4 of the amount of the originating place.
Cauvery has a number of tributaries, and what you see behind me is the tributary of Manyar. It doesn't have even a single drop of water because its main umbilical cord, Cauvery, is water starved. Karnataka contends that it does not receive its due share of water from the river, as does Tamil Nadu. Karnataka claims that these agreements were skewed heavily in favour of Madras presidency and has demanded a renegotiated settlement based on equitable sharing of the waters. Tamil Nadu, on the other hand, pleads that it has already developed almost 3 lakh acres of land and as a result has come to depend very heavily on the existing pattern of usage. Any change in this pattern, it says, will adversely affect the livelihood of millions of farmers in the state.
We are farmers. We are only advisory. We are not authorities. Our experience may be very good, but we have no right to advise you should do it, and we can only recommend. It is the duty of the politicians and the rulers and the bureaucrats to take it up.
We begin our journey from the Cauvery Delta region in Tamil Nadu, which has been on the receiving end. Swami Natarajan has lost his crops because there's no water in the Cauvery. There's no hope and life has almost come to a standstill.
We farmers are incurring huge losses due to lack of water facility. Cauvery water reservoirs should have sufficient storage of water and should be released as per need.
We are at a village called Tribhuvanam, which is part of the Kumbakonam town of Tamil Nadu, and this is supposed to be the tail end of the Cauvery Delta region. Now, there was a time when 3 seasons of paddy were grown, that is Kuruvayu, Taladi and Samba, as what corresponds with the Rabi and the Kharif cropping. But water deficit here has left the farmers now with few options. Enter the district of Kumbakonam, another village, but the same story. Mahalingam used to grow paddy, but with no water left, he has shifted to other means of survival.
The agriculture department and the government help to develop the integrated farming. That is, the farmer income throughout the season, because the basic price of the paddy is very low.
This is the Cauvery bridge in Trichy. Just wanted to show you that the breadth of the Cauvery river is just about 500 to 600 meters and there is not a single drop of water. This particular patch of water which you see is actually the drainage water, the city drainage water which is flowing onto the expanse of the Cauvery river. Enter Tiruchirappalli. 100 years old coconut plantations have wilted because of lack of water. Groundwater level has depleted drastically and these farmers can survive only if they get water from Karnataka.
Discussion committee should be created to resolve water dispute. There is water scarcity in our area due to less rainfall.
Decades of negotiations between the states bore no fruit. Government of India constituted a tribunal in 1990 to look into the matter. After hearing arguments of the states, tribunal delivered its final verdict on February 5, 2007. In its verdict, the tribunal allocated 419 billion feet of water annually to Tamil Nadu and 270 billion feet to Karnataka, 30 billion feet of Cauvery river water to Kerala and 7 billion feet to Puducherry. The dispute, however, appears not to have concluded, as all 4 states deciding to file review petitions seeking clarifications and possible renegotiation of the order.
Tamil Nadu, if it had been satisfied with the quantum of water, that was given as a final award should not have preferred for a clarification or to the Supreme Court, but still went ahead with a clarification under section 5(3) of the Act and also preferred a petition before the Supreme Court.
In 1997, Union government proposed the setting up of a Cauvery River Authority. Several modifications were made, and according to the new proposal, the government set up two new bodies, Cauvery River Authority and Cauvery Monitoring Committee. Cauvery River Authority consisted of the Prime Minister and the Chief Ministers of all the four states, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Kerala. The Cauvery Monitoring Committee is an expert body consisting of engineers, technocrats and other officers who would study the ground situation and report to the government.
Whatever the committee, whatever the board or management board or the regulatory committee, all these comes into existence. All these things can be implemented in a strict sense. If you go into that and see, it becomes difficult.
After the Cauvery River Authority intervened, new orders were given along with suggestions made by the Supreme Court. All the four parties remain unsatisfied. This followed with outbursts of protest by farmers. There were accusations and counter-accusations thrown around by states, and the dispute spilled onto the streets.
We are not prepared to give even a drop of water to Tamil Nadu. We wanted to make use of all the water which is available, directly falls on our Karnataka land.
Time for a short break now. Don't go away. We'll come back with lots more on Cauvery River water dispute. Back in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching our special report on the Cauvery River water dispute. Time and again, Karnataka refused to obey the orders of the Supreme Court, forcing Tamil Nadu to file a contempt petition. Film actors joined politicians in protest. Tamil TV channels and Tamil films were blocked in Karnataka. Also, buses and vehicles from Tamil Nadu were barred from entering Karnataka.
The matter is before the Supreme Court. It's not before the government only. It's before the Supreme Court. And we are acting as per the direction or the advice of the Supreme Court.
The conflict took a fresh turn on February 20th, 2013. Based on the directions of the Apex Court, the Union government notified the final award of the Cauvery Water Disputes Tribunal on sharing the waters of the Cauvery system. The extraordinary notification in the Gazette dated February 19, 2013 says the order takes effect on the date of the publication.
As per the requirement of that notification, we are obliged to constitute the Cauvery Management Board, and for that purpose we have sent the proposal to the Law Ministry, and we are waiting for their decision.
The notification of the final award of the Cauvery Water Disputes Tribunal is the most important step in providing legal and technical framework for sharing of waters among the river basin states, particularly Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. But will this notification automatically end all disputes? That remains still a big question. There was jubilation in Tamil Nadu, where Chief Minister J. Jayalalitha addressed the gathering of the Delta farmers. She was felicitated by various farmer groups, which gave her credit for carrying on a legal battle all these years.
I consider this victory as the victory of people and farmers of the state.
But despite these celebrations, farmers in Tamil Nadu are still apprehensive whether justice would be done.
அது ஏறிட்ட வருஷம் கொஞ்சம் இன்க்ரீஸ் ஆனா பரவாயில்லை.
The central government should interfere but not as political issue. This matter should be resolved on humanitarian ground.
We've reached Karnataka and are right now in the town of Mandya, which is supposed to be one of the worst hit districts. This is the ground zero of the Cauvery river water dispute in Karnataka. While there is jubilation in Tamil Nadu, farmers in Mandya have strong objections on the notification of the final award of the Cauvery Water Disputes Tribunal. They feel the state government has not been able to protect the interest of the farmers.
The situation here is getting worse. We don't get enough water to irrigate our land. Many of us are losing our crops because of a scarcity of water.
According to the Karnataka side, the order sounded the death knell for farmers in the Cauvery basin who are reeling under severe drought. Standing crops got affected as the irrigation department had stopped releasing water in the canals of the district from January 1st.
Respected the tribunal order. Now we are facing no water for drinking, for animals also.
Karnataka government maintains that they will not form the Cauvery Management Board till the time the review petitions of the 4 states are pending.
Matter can be resolved either by the mutual agreement between all the 4 states. That seems to be a difficult proposition. And the second way is the Supreme Court. After a Supreme Court, we will all abide by the direction of the Supreme Court.
Karnataka does not say that it will not spare water for Tamil Nadu, but its implicit position is that it will determine how much water it needs, how much it can spare for Tamil Nadu, and when will it release that water. It simply refuses to accept any independent determination of this. Chief Minister J. Jayalalitha has already filed a contempt petition against Karnataka for not forming the Cauvery Management Board. It is clear that both the governments have taken untenable legal positions. Tamil Nadu started by taking its stand on long-established prior use, which is a relevant but not clinching argument. Karnataka persists in holding fast implicitly to the assumed primacy of upper riparian rights, for which there is no basis in national or international law. There is no meeting point between those two divergent positions. According to the UN Convention, the riparian principles require that before intervening in the natural flows, the upper riparian should give advance intimation to the lower riparian, hold consultations, take into account its concerns, and prevent from substantial harm or injury to it. Tamil Nadu is a receiver of the lion's share of water and is elated at the notification of the Supreme Court, but at the expense of the people of Karnataka, who obviously feel wounded at the thought of the statutory sharing of water that can hurt them in a distress year. But it is never an issue in the seasons of plenty. But when monsoons fail, all hell seems to break loose on the 2 sides of the border dividing the major states. Whenever monsoon fails and reservoirs fall to low levels, tempers rise on both sides. The sticking point yet again is how the distress would be shared between the 2 states. The tribunal had overlooked this crucial point while giving its interim award.
We have given certain advice to both the states about their cropping pattern. But states are not adopting, they are not acting as per our advice. They are doing as per their wish.
Political parties have encashed the sentiments on both states, building political tension over the release of water from reservoirs in deficit years.
Government of Vyas had intervened, but when both the states are very stubborn, I don't know what they will do. they have been leaving this matter to the states to decide, and they are silent. And I think that is what they can do.
One positive element in this entire runner-defying spectacle of people against people and state against state is the formation of a Cauvery family, which is a loose and informal group of Cauvery basin farmers from Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. They are internationally known. They've done a remarkable work in bringing about mutual understanding and goodwill between the two states. But despite several rounds of meetings, they've not been able to arrive at an agreed settlement. Cauvery family, an initiative that seeks to find an amicable solution to the standoff, has tried to bring farmers and farmer representatives to the negotiation table. It has found through its experience that multi-stakeholders dialogue without politicizing the issue could actually result in a fair and acceptable distress sharing formula. But no concrete success has been achieved so far. A sharing pattern means sharing in times of distress too. Now, for instance, India cannot tell Bangladesh that sorry, rains are short, we don't have enough water in the Ganges and so we cannot spare for you. And this is exactly what Karnataka has been telling Tamil Nadu. It is extremely reluctant to accept a distress sharing formula. And this indeed is the crux of the Cauvery problem. Experts say there are several facts that make the Cauvery dispute unique and challenging. First, it is not a case of trying to reach an agreement on sharing river waters that are largely unused, but a case of resharing a heavily used river. And secondly, the demands for water from either of the states presented to the CWDT further highlight the challenge. Neither of the states has allowed the practice of growing double crops in areas other than those prior to the 1924 agreement. There can be no further expansion of area under summer paddy crops. But so far, these restrictions have failed to yield any tangible outcome.
But the fight is on. What is important is what Tamil Nadu gets every week.
Whichever party has been in power in either of the states has always wished to project itself as a greater protector of the state's rights over the Cauvery waters than the opposition, whereas the opposition has been waiting in the wings to pounce upon the ruling party if at all they've shown an inclination to negotiate a settlement. According to the Interstate River Water Dispute Act, the tribunal's final verdict, accepted by central government and notified in the official gazette, becomes law and binding on the states for implementation. In the Cauvery case, no amicable solution is in sight so far. Cauvery is fundamentally a deficit river in relation to the agricultural, household and industrial demands being made over it. Once that fact is understood by the governments and those depending on the river, it could lead to a shift in attitudes towards harmonizing practices in agriculture, energy policy and urban development. Perhaps there has to be a realization that cooperation gains more than conflicts. That's it from me here. See you next time from another place with another issue. Goodbye and thanks for watching.